75,000 people ride through San Francisco's Twin Peaks Tunnel every day. They pass an empty platform that the city sealed in 1980. The San Francisco Municipal Railway rerouted trains to a new Castro Station and walled off the original 1918 station instead of tearing it down. The bench, the bulbs, and the tilework remain intact in the dark. The trains pass it every 6 minutes. The passengers do not see it. But the station has a name. It is called Eureka Valley. It opened on Sunday, February 3rd, 1918. The bore had required 7 years to complete. Engineering crews from the east and west portals had met in the middle on April 3rd, 1917, with alignment errors measured in inches over more than 2 miles of unpredictable rock. Mayor James Rolfe Jr. drove the first streetcar through the Twin Peaks Tunnel on opening day. A small crowd cheered at Van Ness and Market as Muni car number 117 rolled into the eastern portal and emerged at West Portal 7 minutes later. Surface routes around Twin Peaks had needed an hour for the same trip. The tunnel itself ran 11,920 feet from portal to portal. 2¼ miles of bore through Franciscan formations, sandstone, fractured shale, and serpentine. When it opened, it was the longest tunnel built specifically for streetcar service. The K Ingleside line was the first route Muni ran through it. It connected the new western residential districts to Market Street, and it depended on Eureka Valley as its first underground stop east of the ridge. The man who built it was Michael M. O'Shaughnessy, the city engineer. The project was his idea. He had spent the years leading up to the bond vote drafting the alignments, calculating the grades, and pressing the case to Mayor Rolfe and the Board of Supervisors that the city could not develop its western half by going around the mountain. On December 8, 1913, San Francisco voters agreed. They authorized $3.5 million in municipal bonds to fund the tunnel. The measure passed 73,268 to 38,066. Construction began 2 months later. Inside the finished bore, Muni placed 3 stations: West Portal at the western end, Laguna Honda in the middle, at the deepest point of the tunnel under the ridge, and Eureka Valley at the eastern end, tucked just inside the Castro portal, where the streetcars surfaced into the eastern Market Street neighborhoods. Eureka Valley was the smallest of the 3. A single platform with a wooden bench, a row of incandescent bulbs, and tile work running along the wall. Riders waited there for the inbound streetcar back toward downtown. From the day the tunnel opened, the western neighborhoods grew around it. Sunset, Parkside, and West Portal transformed from open scrubland to residential districts within a decade. Eureka Valley was on every Muni map, in every Muni timetable, and on every Muni transfer ticket. Every Muni map, every timetable, every transfer ticket. That was true for about 50 years. By the late 1960s, the system that ran through Eureka Valley was failing. The streetcars themselves were aging. Muni's fleet ran on PCC cars, the President's Conference Committee design from the 1930s, and the youngest of them was already 20 years old. The federal government had stopped subsidizing streetcar manufacture. Replacement parts were scarce. Many American cities had already torn out their streetcar networks and run buses on the same routes. San Francisco was holding on, but the equipment was running out. The other problem was geography. The Twin Peaks Tunnel ended at Castro Street, and the cars surfaced into eastern Market Street traffic. Once they hit the surface, the streetcars competed with cars, buses, delivery trucks, and pedestrians along the entire length of downtown. The result was congestion on top of obsolescence. Riders sat in tunnels that worked, while the cars that carried them aged on streets that did not. In 1972, the Bay Area Rapid Transit District opened the first segment of its new regional rail system in the East Bay. The Transbay Tube under San Francisco Bay opened in 1974. BART proved that rail transit could still attract American riders in the automobile age. In between, the 1973 oil embargo doubled gasoline prices, and cities across the country reconsidered the decisions they had made to abandon rail. San Francisco was already committed. In the late 1960s, the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development began funding regional transit projects across the country. San Francisco applied. The plan that came out of those grants was specific. A new subway would run beneath Market Street, beneath the existing surface tracks, from the Embarcadero to Castro Street. BART would use the upper deck. Muni would use the lower deck. Trains would enter the new subway at the Embarcadero and run underground all the way to Castro Street, then continue west through the existing Twin Peaks Tunnel toward West Portal. The federal money arrived in stages between 1967 and the early 1970s. The Market Street subway construction contracts were let by BART and the City and County of San Francisco. On May 1, 1973, the Urban Mass Transportation Administration awarded the contract for the new vehicles to the Boeing Vertal Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The contract was a joint procurement with the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority in Boston. Muni ordered 100 light rail vehicles in the 1200 series. The cars were larger than the PCC cars, electrically more sophisticated, and built for the kind of subway operation that the new Market Street Tunnel made possible. The procurement itself ran into delays. Boeing Vertal had built helicopters, not streetcars. The first Muni light rail vehicle arrived in late 1977, 2 years behind the original schedule, and required months of modification. The first revenue service trip ran in 1979. The decision that emerged was the one that ended Eureka Valley. The new Muni Metro would not surface at Castro and run on Market Street. It would continue underground in the new Market Street subway and serve a brand new station called Castro Station, built fresh as part of the BART Muni project. The original Twin Peaks Tunnel and its 3 original stations would remain in operation, but only on the western half of the route. The new Castro Street Station and the original Eureka Valley platform sat almost on top of each other geographically. They served the same neighborhood. They served the same passengers. But Castro Street was the station the new system was built to use. Eureka Valley was the station the old system had used. There was room for one, and the city had decided which one. The execution started on a Monday. On February 18, 1980, weekday Muni Metro service opened in the new Market Street subway. The N Judah was first. Its streetcars stopped running on Market Street and began diving underground at the Embarcadero, riding the new lower-deck subway through the heart of downtown. The other Muni lines stayed with PCC cars on the surface for the time being. The conversion was deliberately phased. Muni could not afford to close any line completely. The cars had to keep running while the system underneath them changed. 4 months later, in June 1980, the cutover reached the western neighborhoods. Muni Metro service extended to West Portal. For the first time, the new Boeing Vertal light rail vehicles ran the full length of the Twin Peaks Tunnel. The K Ingleside, L Taraval, and M Ocean View lines, 3 of the streetcar routes that had used the tunnel for decades, were now operating with new equipment in new tunnels. The trains entered the new Market Street subway at the Embarcadero, ran underground all the way to Castro Street, surfaced briefly, and then dived back into the original Twin Peaks Tunnel for the run to West Portal. 2 of the 3 original stations inside the Twin Peaks Tunnel were modernized for the new service. West Portal at the western end received a new mezzanine, new fare gates, new lighting, and high-level platforms designed for the larger Boeing cars. Forest Hill, the middle station, was rebuilt. New caverns, new entry pavilions, new everything. Both stations stayed in active service after the work was done. The 3rd original station was not modernized. Eureka Valley sat at the eastern end of the tunnel, just a short surface walk from the new Castro Street Station. The 2 stations served the same blocks, the same intersections, the same residential streets. Modernizing both would have meant building 2 new station caverns within walking distance of each other on the same line, paid for by the same public budget. Castro Street was newer, larger, and built into the New Market Street subway structure that the federal grants had funded. Eureka Valley was older, smaller, and built into a 42-year-old concrete bore that the new system already used in a different way. The decision was made at the operational and engineering level. There was no public ordinance, no published vote. The Muni Metro project documents from the late 1970s simply listed Castro Street Station as the East End stop on the K, L, and M lines. Eureka Valley did not appear on the new operating diagrams. Riders boarding at Castro Street had no way of knowing that the original station they were replacing was, in fact, still there. It sat directly underneath them, in the same tunnel, on the same track grade. Physically, the platform was sealed in place. The Twin Peaks tunnel itself was kept structurally intact during the renovation from 1977 to 1980. The original concrete walls, the platform shelf, and the architectural envelope of the 1918 station were retained. The platform tiles were neither pried up nor poured over. The new walls were built around the existing structure rather than through it. The 1918 station stayed in place behind those walls in the dark. The lights went off in June 1980. They have not come back on. The Muni Metro trains have run past the platform every 6 minutes since. What was sealed in there did not disappear. It just stopped being visible. The Twin Peaks Tunnel is 2¼ miles of solid 1918 engineering. When Muni renovated it for the new Boeing Vertol light rail vehicles between 1977 and 1980, the concrete shell was retained. The tunnel that the cars run through today is the same tunnel the original construction crew built between 1914 and 1918. The walls, the curve, the cross-section, the gradient. All original. Inside that bore, the Eureka Valley platform sits in the easternmost section of the tunnel, just inside the Castro portal. The platform itself is a single linear concrete shelf at the low height the original streetcars required, running parallel to the eastbound track. The dimensions have not changed. The historical record describes what the platform held when it was active: a wooden bench, incandescent bulb sockets wired into the original conduits, and glazed ceramic tile work along the wall. These were the standard furnishings of a small Muni underground platform of the 1918 era. The Muni Metro renovation between 1977 and 1980 did not demolish or strip the platform out. It built new walls around it and continued the active tunnel past it. By the renovation's own documentation, Eureka Valley was sealed in place, not removed. What can be confirmed in the current decade comes from cab ride footage of the Muni Metro running through the Twin Peaks tunnel. That footage shows the widened recess where the platform sits, dark behind the new walls. The refuge alcoves around it are there. Beyond that, the contents of the sealed section are described mainly by the architectural records of what was sealed. Time does to a sealed space what time does to any underground room shut off from active maintenance. Dust settles, air stagnates. The platform has been closed off from active service for over 4 decades, and the maintenance work performed inside it during that time has been minimal. In 2018, the SFMTA closed the entire Twin Peaks tunnel for 9 weeks to do major track and seismic work. Crews replaced the rails, upgraded the drainage, retrofitted the concrete walls for earthquake resilience, and modernized the fire and emergency communication systems. The 2018 project documents listed everything the work would touch. The sealed Eureka Valley platform was not on the list. The new fire life safety upgrades went into the active sections of the tunnel. The disused platform behind its walls received no attention. After 9 weeks of work, the tunnel reopened. The dark space east of Castro stayed dark. Built directly into the sidewalls of the tunnel, at regular intervals along the length of the bore, are openings that were not meant for the public to see. They are not part of the Eureka Valley platform itself. They are part of the original 1914 engineering design. And the people who walked through the Twin Peaks tunnel as teenagers in the 1950s and 60s remember them by a different name. The riders called them cutouts. The engineers called them refuge niches. They were carved into the side walls of the Twin Peaks tunnel at regular intervals along the entire 2.25-mile bore. Each one was a shallow alcove, roughly the depth of a person standing flush against the wall. The original 1914 to 1918 construction specifications required them because the tunnel was a single bore with double track and live electrical lines, and the maintenance crews who worked inside it needed somewhere to step out of the way when a streetcar came through. A worker pulling new conduit or inspecting concrete or shoveling debris between tracks would hear the streetcar coming. The acoustic echo of a Muni car in a hard concrete tunnel was unmistakable. When he heard it, he would step into the nearest cutout, press his back against the alcove wall, and let the car pass. Once it was gone, he would step back out and continue working. The cutouts had no public-facing function. They appeared on the original engineering drawings as numbered safety features, but Muni did not post signs telling passengers they existed. By the 1950s, the teenagers of the western neighborhoods of San Francisco had figured out that the tunnel was walkable. They would slip in at the surface portals on weekend nights and walk the length of the bore from West Portal to Eureka Valley, using the cutouts to duck out of sight when a Muni car came through. Some of them are still around. They remember. The Muni Metro renovation in 1980 left the cutouts in place. They were structural features of the concrete shell. The renovation did not need them filled in. They run along the active section of the tunnel between Forest Hill and West Portal to this day. The cab cameras on the modern LRV trains show them flicking past at intervals, shadowed shallow pockets in the sidewall that most riders do not notice and that the system map does not show. By modern standards, the original 1918 cutouts still serve their purpose. National Fire Protection Association safety codes require refuge space in any long single-bore rail tunnel. The Twin Peaks bore qualifies. The 1918 alcoves count. The engineers who carved them out for the construction workers of 1914 built a feature that the safety codes of a century later mandate. In the eastern section of the tunnel, where the Muni Metro trains run between the new Castro Station and the sealed Eureka Valley platform, the cutouts are still there too. They are part of the same continuous bore that the original crews carved out of the mountain. But the section that contains the sealed platform sees a different kind of traffic. The trains pass it, the maintenance crews have no reason to enter it, and the cutouts in that section sit inside the dark space. And the dark space is what 75,000 people pass through, 6 minutes apart every day on their way to and from the western neighborhoods. 75,000 passengers a day. The Muni Metro K Ingleside, L Taraval, and M Ocean View lines all run through the Twin Peaks tunnel today. They carry the 75,000 daily passengers SFMTA publishes when it talks about the bore. They serve the western neighborhoods that the tunnel made possible in the first place: the Sunset, Parkside, West Portal, Forest Hill, and the streetcar suburbs of southern San Francisco. The trains enter the Market Street subway at Embarcadero Station and roll west under the financial district. They stop at Montgomery, Powell, Civic Center, Van Ness, and Church. They reach Castro Station, the last station in the new Market Street subway. At Castro Street, they pause for boarding. The riders who get off there are heading into the Castro neighborhood. The riders who stay on are heading farther west. After the Castro Street stop, the train accelerates back out of the new Market Street subway and into the original 1918 Twin Peaks tunnel. The transition is invisible to the passengers. They are inside a moving train in a dark tunnel. They cannot see when the tunnel walls change from the 1979 concrete of the Market Street subway to the 1918 concrete of the Twin Peaks bore. The grade levels out. The light bulbs hanging from the ceiling at intervals look the same. The tunnel feels continuous. The train descends slightly past Castro Street into the older bore. Within a few seconds, it crosses the geographic spot where the original 1918 Eureka Valley station opened. The new Castro Street station sits in the Market Street subway above. The old Eureka Valley sits in the Twin Peaks tunnel below. Same neighborhood, different decade, different infrastructure project. Soon after entering the original Twin Peaks bore, the train passes the sealed Eureka Valley platform. A passenger seated by the window would see, if they looked, a brief widening of the sidewall, a darker pocket where the platform sits behind whatever new wall Muni installed in 1980. Most passengers are checking their phones. The platform passes in roughly 1.5 seconds at LRV cruising speed. The cutouts are there too, flickering past as small shadows. What the 75,000 do not see is the inside of the platform. The bench, the dust on the bench, the bulb sockets in the conduit, the 1918 tile work, the cutouts at regular intervals, the platform itself. They see a tunnel wall, 75,000 riders a day, 365 days a year for the 46 years since June 1980. That is more than 1 billion individual passages past the sealed platform. The Eureka Valley station has been observed, in a strict physical sense, by every one of those passengers. They were in the same tunnel with it. Most of them were within a few feet of it as they rolled past. None of them knew. Most of them were riding the very system that had built it, paid for it, opened it, and then chosen to wall it off. The last people who knew the platform was active were the Muni riders of the early 1980s. Their final trips through Eureka Valley ended on a Sunday in September 1982. That Sunday closed the entire original era of San Francisco streetcar service. Sunday, September 19, 1982. The PCC retirement had played out over 2.5 years. February 18, 1980, the N-Judah went into the Market Street subway, the first Muni line to leave PCC operation. June 1980, the K, L, and M lines through the Twin Peaks tunnel went over to Boeing Vertol LRV equipment. June 17, 1981, the J Church, the last fully PCC-operated line, converted to Muni Metro subway service. Each conversion removed a layer of streetcar history from the network. The PCC cars themselves did not disappear all at once. After June 1981, Muni continued to run PCC cars on weekend service through the remaining fall and winter. There were not enough Boeing Vertol LRV vehicles to cover the system entirely. PCC drivers, PCC mechanics, PCC route managers were still on the payroll, and the PCC equipment was still serviceable. The weekend service was a transitional fleet that had not yet been formally retired. For most of 1982, San Franciscans could still ride a PCC car on a Saturday or Sunday, and many of them did. That last day was Sunday, September 19, 1982. The records of which specific PCC cars ran their last revenue trips that day are scattered across Muni operating logs, fan photographs, and the work files of the streetcar restoration nonprofits that later traced the rollout. What is known is that when the lights closed on that Sunday evening, the system's regular PCC service was over. What ended on September 19, 1982, was an era of public transit specifically built for the kind of streetcar the Twin Peaks tunnel had been built to carry. The Eureka Valley platform had been designed for that era. Its low platform height was sized for PCC boarding, its bench was for PCC riders, and its tile work was lit by PCC-era incandescent bulbs. When the last PCC pulled into its yard and the lights went out, every original platform that had been built for that fleet, including the sealed one inside the Twin Peaks tunnel, became a piece of infrastructure that the new system did not need. The PCCs themselves were scrapped, sold to other transit agencies, or donated to museums across the country. Some went to private collectors. A handful were kept by Muni for what would eventually become the F Market Heritage Line. That line opened on September 1, 1995, running restored PCC cars along Market Street and the Embarcadero in slow tourist service. They are PCC cars, but they run as living history, not as the working backbone of the transit system that the original PCCs had been. The original era was over. The sealed Eureka Valley platform was, by any practical measure, obsolete the moment the last PCC ran. The only remaining question was what to do with it. Muni had 3 options for the Eureka Valley platform in 1980. The first was demolition. Muni could have sent crews into the tunnel during the renovation closure, broken up the platform, hauled out the rubble, and finished the tunnel with a clean, continuous sidewall where the platform had been. This option had 3 real costs: additional weeks of tunnel closure beyond the planned renovation, structural risk to a 100-foot section of concrete bore that had stood undisturbed since 1918, and no measurable benefit to the riders who would board at the new Castro Street station. The disused platform was not in their way. The second was modernization. Muni could have rebuilt Eureka Valley into a second underground station in the Castro neighborhood, paired with the new Castro Street station above. This had been rejected during the planning of the Market Street subway. 2 stations within walking distance of each other would have duplicated service, doubled operating costs, and split the federal grant money that the BART Muni project depended on. There was funding for one station. The new Castro Street station was that station. The third was to seal it in place and leave it. This required almost no work. A few new walls between the active track bed and the disused platform. New signage on the operating diagrams listing Castro Street as the East End stop. Updated route maps. Nothing else. The platform stayed where it was. The tunnel kept running and the new system functioned as planned. This was the option Muni chose. The reasoning was financial and structural. Sealing cost a fraction of demolition and required no additional closure of the tunnel. The original 1918 concrete shell remained continuous, supporting the load above. The new walls separating the platform from the active tracks fit into the existing bore geometry. The riders saw nothing change. The accountants saw a cost line that did not exist. What was left behind is a fossil. The Eureka Valley platform is a piece of 1918 streetcar infrastructure preserved by the simplest possible preservation method, leaving it alone. The platform shelf, the architectural envelope of the 1918 station, the cutouts in the side walls of the bore around it. All of it remains because dismantling it was more expensive than keeping it. That is the closure mechanism. One platform, one wall, one decision made not by a city council vote or a transit commissioner's signature, but by the engineers who priced out the renovation and concluded that sealing was cheaper than demolishing. The original station was preserved by neglect. It still is. The platform shelf is still down there. The new walls are still up. The cutouts still run along the side walls of the bore. 75,000 passengers pass over the eastbound track every day, and the lights, 6 minutes apart at a time, are off.